I'm Paige Rollins from the Office of Alumni and Career Services, and today I'm here with Major Jason Dempsey, class of 2005. Hey, Jason.
Hey, good morning.
So I'm coming here from Farmville, Virginia, and Jason, you're somewhere out in California, correct?
Yes, ma'am. I'm currently at 29 Palms on a business trip.
Man, yes, ma'am. I will take that. Okay, so I understand you are the operations officer for the field testing branch at the Marine Corps Warfighting Lab, which is a pretty cool title. Can you just kind of tell me about what your unit does and what a day in the life of Jason is like?
Sure. The Marine Corps Warfighting Lab's mission is to test and evaluate future concepts and technologies. What we're ultimately trying to do is determine conducting operations is, or what the next piece of technology is to make the Marine Corps more efficient, more lethal, and more survivable.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your most recent experiment.
So the most recent experiment I had, we called a MAGTAF integrated experiment. So what we were looking at was 8 separate objectives. Some of them range from manned and unmanned teaming, which is basically utilizing humans and robots to operate together. We looked at a term called logistics demand reduction, reducing the amount of logistics that a unit is required or utilizes. We also looked at some digital interoperability, basically utilizing communication assets to make us more efficient. So we had a variety of objectives that we were looking at. Throughout the experiment, we had over 33 technologies that we were looking at. We had 5 unmanned aerial systems. Some of them range from a Group 5 UAS, which is your large Predator Reapers that can conduct close air support on station times upwards to 24 hours. And then we had some small UASs, which only had about a 20-minute time on station. UASs we had was only 3 inches long and had a 20-minute loiter time. So it couldn't be heard above 30 feet. So you could actually peek around the corner or over a building and the bad guys wouldn't know it was there. So the unit could get situational awareness of what was happening in the environment and what the enemy was doing. We had 5 unmanned ground. Cool. Yeah, we had 5 unmanned ground systems. Some of them were utilized for logistics movements. So instead of having a Marine carry 120 pounds worth of gear, I could throw it on this robot and drive it either with a remote or you pull it with a tether, which was mechanically driven. So you could tie this thing to your belt loop and didn't feel a tug, but you were still carrying 600 pounds right behind you. Some of the robots we had weapon systems on it. So we had a medium machine gun or a M2 50 caliber, which is a large machine gun. The 50 caliber is a pretty heavy weapon system. So it's not normally carried by people that are just foot mobile. But now that it can be put onto this robot, it can be now, you can bring a heavier weapon system down to a foot mobile unit. And once again, it's the first thing that's going through the door or the first thing that is exposed to the enemy. So you have the Marine not being exposed to enemy fire first, and it is a more lethal weapon system than they would normally carry. So those are some of the robots we played with. Some of the systems we were working on, one of the systems was called a JICP. It basically was a harness that was strapped onto the Marine, and as the Marine was moving and walking, the hinges around his knees and the shaking of the backpack going up and down as he's walking charged batteries. So as a person is walking, you're creating energy and finds a way to capture that energy and convert it into battery power. So very futuristic stuff. Another system we worked on was something called a high efficiency internally transportable trailer, HITE for short. It was actually created by Virginia Tech students. There's only 2 of them in the world. Basically, instead of running a generator, we utilize car batteries to power everything, and the generator only charges the battery. So instead of refueling a generator that we have program of records every 3 to 4 hours, we're refueling the generator that powers the batteries every 17, 18 hours, because the batteries is where you get the energy from, not the generator itself. So once again, if you think about in Iraq and Afghanistan, most of our injuries came from logistic resupply trains. Now I don't have to have that resupply train going up against the enemy because the unit is more self-sufficient.
That's awesome. What a cool project to be a part of.
Yes.
Very cool. Okay, so now that you've said all that wonderful information, I'm a little bit nosy. Can you tell me like what's up and coming, or I mean these projects are really cool, but what's like the next cool step that you can talk about for the military?
The next thing that we have is, of course, the robots. Once again, if I can save a Marine's life by putting a robot into a door versus a person, and killing the bad guy and letting the robot be exposed before the person, then I'm saving a Marine's life and making us more efficient. So those are kind of like the top three things that I think we're progressing toward as a Marine Corps and as a military. So unmanned ground systems, unmanned aerial systems, and evaluating the man-in level of the Marine Corps.
That's awesome. Very cool. And to totally switch gears, I understand that you are now a father of two. Congratulations. Can you tell me a bit about what it's like balancing your family life and your personal career?
Yes, balancing family life has been difficult. I've been married to my wife, Emily, for 8 years. We met in flight school. She's been with me through thick and thin, 4 deployments, a lot of time away from each other. My most recent deployment, which finished a year ago, she gave birth to my firstborn 3 weeks after I left on an 8-month deployment. So she basically raised my firstborn for the first 7 months of her life until I got home by herself. So I came home to a 7-month-old, which is a little interesting, and obviously it was a learning experience. She had all this experience on how to feed the baby and whatnot, and I had no idea how to hold it.
So, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
It was a learning experience. And then 3 weeks ago, my wife gave birth to our second, and he's doing well, but currently I'm TAD, or away from family for a few days, a week here, week there. So she has to switch gears quite a bit to be mom and dad, and then when I finally get home, I gotta get back into the groove of things. So
sure.
She's fantastic, to say the least. I think out of at one stint, my last 2 deployments, out of 30 months, I'd been gone 22 of them, and then of course managed to get her pregnant and gave birth to the first. So 30 months, 21, 22 months away, that's quite a bit.
Wow. And what is your favorite part about your job, if you had to pick one thing?
I think the most appealing part of my job is that we are looking at the future. So if you look at things or movies such as like Terminator, you see robots with machine guns, you see things happen autonomously, technologies that we are playing with. So we have weapon systems that are basically a hand-controlled robot that has a machine gun on it. Ultimately, Marine is not the first thing that is exposed to the enemy. It's a robot. So 1, I'm saving a Marine's life in combat, and 2, I'm making the operations of the Marine Corps more efficient and more lethal, because I can now move a robot close to the enemy and not worry about injuring a Marine or hurting a Marine. Appealing is the future technologies and the operations that we are working with.
Well, Jason, thanks so much for talking to me today. It's been awesome learning about all the different programs that you do and hearing about your time at Longwood.
Thank you.